All right, that's enough. I said enough. Another word, and we'll all be here till 5 o'clock. It's nothing to me, is it? I've got all the time in the world. I wasn't halfway down the corridor before there was such a din that all the other teachers started opening their doors as much as to say, what the hell's going on? There's somebody talking now. Who was it? Who was it? You? You, Mr. Man? No, I did not accuse you. I asked you. What's that? Somebody in the back row. You're the losers, not me. Who was that? Right. Hands on heads. Come on. That includes you. Put the comb away. Eyes front and sit up. All of you, sit up. Hands on heads. You I'm talking to. That's better. You'll be tired by the time I'm finished. Stand on your seat. And keep your hands on your heads. Never mind what's going on outside, the joker at the back. Keep looking out here. Eyes front, hands on heads.
Well, madam, this baby has now been thoroughly tested, and we need the beds rather badly, so I think it is better if you take her home. I think I can assure you she will not be any trouble. Just keep her well sedated, you will hardly know she is there.
But doctor?
Yeah.
Well, can't you tell me the results?
Results?
Of the tests?
But which ones? There are so many. Electroencephalograph, three-dimensional X-ray, blood, urine and stool analysis. This business with the needle in the fontanelle.
Is that why her hair's been shaved off?
Oh, yeah.
She's only just begun to grow it. And did the needle make that scar on her head?
Scar? Ach, nein! This was just a little biopsy to take the sample of the brain tissue.
Oh, that's a relief. I thought for a minute you'd bored a hole in her skull to let the devil out.
Sounds good. Did we try that? My colleague says we do not do that anymore. It's a pity. Well, if you will excuse me. Donner und Blitzen!
What can she do?
Do? She can do nothing at all.
Will she ever?
Madam, let me tell you what your daughter is like. Do you know what I mean when I say your daughter was a vegetable?
Yes. You mean your daughter was a vegetable?
Ach, Himmels, is always will be. I'm having trouble with the English verbs.
But when people say to me, what kind of cripple is your daughter, do I say she's a vegetable? A vegetable?
You want a word for her?
Yes.
You can say that she is a spastic with the damaged cerebral cortex, multiplegic, epileptic, but with no organic malformation of the brain.
That is a long word.
Which is why I prefer vegetable.
Vegetable.
Vegetable? Isn't that right?
It's close. But why? If her brain is physically sound, why doesn't it work?
Imagine a switchboard. A telephone switchboard, yeah?
I worked as a switchboard operator once.
See, that is wunderbar! Well, imagine you are there now. Sitting at the board, facing it. So? Some lines are tied up, some waiting to be used, then suddenly... Brrr, brrr.
Incoming call.
Exactly. You plug in.
Universal shafting.
What?
That was the firm I worked for.
You've never put it in before.
I will this time.
Universal shafting. Story of your life. Anyway, at that moment there is another incoming call. But you panic and you plug him into the first one and you leave them chatting to each other. Then at that moment, you answer another extension and he want the railway station, but you put him through to the cricket results. But they all start buzzing and flashing and you flip your lid and you pull out all the lines. Kaput! And there is your epileptic fit, your grand or petit mal, depending on the stress, the number of lines. All right?
But doctor...
I am a very busy man, Mrs.
Look, I know you must be.
Yours is not the only pie can in the
I
country.
know.
There is one born every 8 hours.
I didn't know that. Is that true?
No, yeah. Not all as bad as this one, of course.
But isn't there anything at all that we can do?
But you must wash her nappies, keep her warm, feed her just like any other mother.
But for how long?
Who can say? Anything can happen, you know that. Diphtheria, pneumonia, whooping cough, Colorado beetle, the thalidomide kid. Fastest guns in the West! On the slightest impulse from his rudimentary arm stumps, the steel hands fly down to the holsters, he spins on solid rubber tyres and pew!
Yes, but that's a bit too sick for me. Give me a good message any time.
What's he doing here? It's my mother.
Hello, nice to see you.
I'm not stopping, Sheila. You did say you've got company.
Mr. and Mrs. Underwood, my mother.
We were just going.
How do you do?
I'm not stopping. I mean, I was in town and I thought I'd drop in Josephine's new cardigan. I wouldn't drop in the ordinary way, especially when they've got company. Only on a Tuesday, Mrs. Parry and I have made a habit of meeting for the pictures, if there's anything nice. Well, after you've been round with the duster, there's little else to fill in the afternoon, and no one wants to sit around with like a mug. And don't laugh, will you? But they've reduced the price for old age pensioners. I don't suppose that anyone wants to think of themselves as an old age pensioner. Oh, no, I don't. But when you have to manage on so little, a few shillings is a consideration. Anyway, Mrs. Parry phoned to say she couldn't make it on Tuesday. That was on Thursday. Or was it Friday? And she had to wait in for a vacuum. I said to her, surely to goodness a vacuum could come in the morning or any other afternoon. It's not to go on the day that we go out. And she said, my dear, nowadays, if you're told to expect a vacuum on a Tuesday, there's very little you can do to stop it. So I said, well, all right then. I'll do some last-minute Christmas shopping in the afternoon, and then I'll meet you in the Odeon Cafe at, say, 4:30, and then we can see Julie Andrews in the evening. Why I do so many cardigans is the whole night dribbles. It's not like a baby dribbles, it's worse than that. It's not nice to talk about really, but she can't seem to regulate the flow, and her garments after a few hours on are stiff with saliva. And it makes such a lot of washing for her mother. And I said to Sheila often enough, you should put her in one of those plastic bibs. It'd be such a saving on wool. But then you can't say too much, can you? That would be an interfering mother-in-law. But I do believe that if I said, Sheila, whatever you do, don't put her in a plastic bib, that poor mite would be in a plastic bib morning, noon and night. Like a blooming nun. So, when we came out the Odeon, I thought, I'll go so far on the bus with Mrs. Parry, and then I'll drop in my granddaughter's new cardigan, and then perhaps if Brian's not too busy, he'll drop in home.
Right, okay then.
So I'm not stopping.